All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Thursday afternoon, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Welcome on back for our afternoon meeting. Bill beat Chuck here on the punch, the loud and clear. So great to see Bill, Chuck, Andrea, Mark, Norman, all of our students live inside cyber rejoining us here for this afternoon. And hey, if you're rejoining us back on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, as always, as well, welcome on back. So I'll tell you what, folks, we have a pretty interesting afternoon lined up. Markets are unfortunately dropping off, but at least there's some direction, right? That's what we primarily care about as day traders here, at least. Obviously, in terms of swing positions, investments, obviously not a good direction to work with right now, but we're going to try and short some stocks or at least follow the market in general heading into the next 90 minutes going into the close. For right now, stock that's not moving with the market, actually going completely against the grain for the meantime, the DAT chat trade, DATS, another breakout once again today. We saw the stock make a big pop back on Tuesday of this week, a couple days ago. And for right now, just the way this looks, easily enough, I'm going to start off by putting this back on our list here for the afternoon. DATS. Now, to go over the move, at least from the morning, I want to jump into Peloton next. Obviously, that took a really big drop today, big hit. And if you didn't know that, we'll cover the news as to why Peloton dropped in a moment. But the DATS trade ended up showing some good movement early in pre-market. It got a little range bound, at least heading into the open, but ended up opening up pretty strong. Ended up popping pretty nicely right over 350. Ended up using that same 350 level to act as a big support. And from there, it moved up. Now, with that in mind, though, although that led to a good entry, just look at the chart. It's been a bit of a grinder since. Ended up popping above 4, came right back down, tried moving back up there going into the early afternoon. We know that's not the best time anyway to be trading. Well, pulled back. At least for right now, though. Hey, heading into the close, right back over 380. That was also a pretty big level from this morning. And as of right now, I would still anticipate 4 to be your major resistance there. All right, quick question for all of us here live inside Cyber Group. At least, hey, if you're on social media joining us today, then yeah, feel more than free to answer as well. Did anyone short Peloton today? PTON. Anyone short Peloton today, folks? Anyone? Patrick in Inside Cyber Group says no. Mark, no. Bill bought puts. There you go. All right, so the news that came out. I mean, hey, I'm just here twiddling my thumbs, minding my own business on a slow Thursday afternoon. And then out of nowhere, we have Rich Liz, one of our, members here in CTU here in the office, ended up kind of screaming a little bit. He's like, oh, whoa, Josh, you see what happened on Peloton? Obviously, I didn't at the time. I take a look and it's just getting crushed. So the news that came out on Peloton just from earlier this afternoon, Peloton shares trading lower after following a CNBC report titled Peloton to halt production of its bikes, treadmills as demand wanes. Well, this is pretty interesting. This is the first time I'm mentioning this right here. Personally, I only saw this last night, literally on Twitter. I'm just, perusing Twitter last night, and I saw some post. One of the people I follow, a fairly insightful fellow, he posted this whole chart regarding Peloton and the insider selling, really over the last year. I mean, since late 2020, really, and going into 21, just a lot of insider selling across most of last year. Pretty interesting timing with what had happened this afternoon. Interesting that came out right before the big drop today. So, of course, Peloton's been dropping going back into late September, early October from that point. Big gap down, I believe, off of missed earnings at that point there. But only it continued to drop off. Right now, at least, I'm short from 27. So I wish I had more shares. It's about 600 shares as of right now. But for right now, the way this looks heading into the close, I'm going to follow this as a clear short for the meantime. I did write a couple of big print levels, at least in the trading room earlier heading into the afternoon. I'm going to try and copy and paste that really quick, folks. We had big print levels at, well, you know what, actually, how about this? For all of us inside Cyber Group. Right there. Reposted that from earlier this afternoon at 1:19 Eastern time. So aside from the following levels I typed to everyone inside our live trading room, the level I was harping on, aside from those levels, was 27. $27. That was the opening print price off its IPO. 29 was technically the IPO price, mind you. But when it opened up on its first day, we had a really big transaction exactly at 27. Well, we actually used that as a clear resistance, is held perfectly, and for right now, gradually dropping off. All right, so we're gonna put this on our watch list. I'm gonna keep an eye on my position here in case if this does happen to make a short little jump back up, but for right now, it looks pretty good. Andrea says, "Yup, I am waiting this spring to buy a Peloton and a nice bicycle when the market gets flooded with used ones." Oh, there you go. Buy one really cheap. Just make sure that it works. Make sure that you don't have any issues on it. I know that what was it last year? There were some big issues with some Peloton bikes. They were getting recalled, and someone unfortunately died on it. Crazy, right? So for anyone out there, not just in Dre, be careful at least with Peloton. But BJ asking, "Are you short?" I would hate to be long. That's my answer there, BJ. Yeah, I'm short right now from 27. I had mentioned that just a moment ago here. Now, otherwise, though, what we'll do is just rip it right from top to bottom. So far, we have two good stocks to work with on our afternoon watch list. Today is Thursday, so no Bitcoin, stuff to go over here for this afternoon. Nice little push back up overnight, perhaps going against the grain of the market. I haven't checked in on Bitcoin though, over the last hour and a half. So I'll check in on that later. We'll do a full review Bitcoin tomorrow to wrap up the week. But otherwise, for any of the other movers that we had caught, or any of the movers that we may look to catch heading into this close, let's quickly begin to scan from here. First off, the BRFH stock. Right, BRFH, tongue twister symbol there, ended up making a bit of a pop going into the early afternoon or mid afternoon, even by 2 p.m. It's just such a spotty chart. I mean, up until recent, it's got thin volume on the books, so I'm not too particular about that. I don't know if this is a new IPO or SPAC. Looks relatively, oh no, not even back from 2012, even here. But man, what a squeeze. I mean, it's getting relatively close to the all-time highs for right now. I'm just not a fan of the liquidity, though, for right now here. So I'm going to pass on this BRFH for this afternoon. Maybe keep it on your side list for tomorrow or later on this afternoon. If there's nothing else that's moving, maybe we'll check back in on this. All right, DATS we talked about just to begin, already on our watch list so far, and we keep it going. APM, this was not too surprising to see it just chop around like this. Of course, we're pretty hopeful, optimistic of a clean breakout pop as soon as the market opens up. It was, showing great activity throughout the pre-market early on here, trending up after 8 a.m. Eastern time, or 8:30, I should say. Ended up making a nice push at first, but then ended up chopping around afterwards, right around 170, 165. And for right now, I mean, it's just more of a tease than anything. So I don't know. Keep it on your side list for tomorrow to close out the week. But if it's not showing good activity in pre-market tomorrow morning, then throw it off your list right away. For this afternoon, though, definitely not. EVTL. Let me jump back to my daily chart. Is on monthly there. EVTL ended up making a great push after the open, but we more so called the stock out as it was beginning to push up heading into the mid-afternoon. It ended up breaking above 10 pretty quickly, and really here is the first time since early mid-morning where it tested 10. So you have to treat this pretty much as if it's the first actual test. Ended up breaking above it, but then quickly came back down. An easy to read false breakout. If it's not going to break any higher, folks, a very generic line, but you know what direction that stock's going to go in otherwise. The chart reads left to right, stocks go up and down. It's as simple as that. So if it's not going to continue to pop 10 and, run up higher, this is the move that you're going to get. So for right now, this trade, the EVTL, pass on this here too. ADGI stock actually from the end of last year got crushed, and then a couple of days later made a phenomenal dead cat bounce. We did really well on this run going back into the end of last year, but has come down since. I don't know the news out on this stock right now, folks. I really don't care to check. I care about this year. This action heading into the early to mid afternoon is piquing my interest. It was breaking higher up until just about 2 p.m. Eastern time, and now making a lower high here. So that's a little bearish there for right now. Stock's trading a lot of volume per minute still across this afternoon. I'll put this on our list for right now. I don't feel like we'll have too big of a list here, but I'll put this more towards the middle, or what will likely be the bottom of this watch list here. All right, so as the markets were moving up earlier today, there were a couple of stocks that were moving up really nicely with it. And as the markets were beginning to drop off, they were holding their own. So, Laser is one of them. Two down from Laser on the gainers list is SoFi. So we're going to go over those two here pretty quickly. The Laser trade, if anything, popped shortly after 9 a.m. Eastern time. hey, you hope to have this type of run after, and thankfully it made that type of run after. But when it pops and then drops like this shortly after, that's a bit of a red flag. So afterwards, heading into the market open, it didn't drop lower at the time, but it wasn't really showing too many signs of life. And it took a while for this to begin to make its true move. But once it did break above resistance off of 15 here, you could see, I mean, there wasn't really much of a shake aside from this. And then once it rebroke it, nice run. So took a while to get the gears going on laser, but ended up providing for a really nice, just about 2 point move, $1.75 move from 15 to that high. The SoFi stock as well ended up making a really nice run. From the news yesterday, there was news yesterday regarding SoFi in regards to them being recognized as a national bank. I believe that was. You don't really happen to have that new type of news come out too often, right? So pretty disappointing to see SoFi not make this move yesterday, but that's why you don't want to write off a stock, right? I mean, there's a bit of a gray area between writing a stock off and falling in love with it too much. Well, the news came out yesterday, right? So it's not like we've been following the stock off of that news for a month. It just came out yesterday, so we have to give it a quick look this morning. And it was very active in pre-market. Of course, Fausto was focused on this, heading into the pre-market session here today. It was on our side list for the market open, but man, once this popped, we were all over all over this trade here. Inside the cyber group room, end up making a beautiful pop, and in fact, I'll talk about this briefly here, but it is to say from yesterday's opening bell print price right off of 1437, 1438, that became the level to watch for today. I mean, it ended up breaking out pretty quickly, but it pulled back down and it ended up holding just over 1438 there before it ended up continuing to move back up. So we were talking about this yesterday, harping all about that 1438 level. There was over 1 million shares filled at the market open yesterday morning. Same to be said here today. But otherwise, though, how often does that happen? How often do you see 1 million share block prints coming out on the tape like that, folks? You know the answer. So you have to focus on that quite a bit, really hone in on that price as a key big volume level, right? My best entry is to buy a stock directly after it breaks through a big level on the way up. I jumped in right at 1440 right here. I left a fortune on the table. I ended up getting a decent chunk of change, at least as it broke over 15 the first attempt. I ended up pretty much closing right over 15 with Fausto at the time, actually. We had a very similar exit, him and I. But from there, kept going. I didn't re enter this trade after, and it just kept giving, right? The gift that keeps on giving, or at least gave this SoFi stock, eventually ended up topping off right around 1625, I mean, really almost 1650, making lower highs now, beginning to pull back with the market. I love this stock as a day trade for the close, folks, for today, for this afternoon. Still very volatile, very tradable, although it's trading a lot of volume right now this afternoon, 220 milli. That's definitely a lot for this type of stock. And this trade's a lot of volume to begin with. So that would be the only concern I have on this trade, but it is shortable. It's making lower highs. If it could break a lower low, this could be a nice, quick little short trade here. If not, then perhaps there's room for one more little run back up. We'll see what happens if it can get back up to 16, should that be the case. All right. Back to Peloton really quick. I just missed Chuck's comment a moment ago inside Cyber Group. He wrote, with average decent road bikes costing around $3,000 at least, over 10,000 for a top end. I'm doing the same in regards to what Andrea is doing. He's going to try and buy a used one later throughout this year for a much cheaper price. Not a bad idea, Chuck. Not a bad idea. Let's keep it going here on SOPA. OCX. Ooh, nice little uptrend here, recovering perhaps from yesterday's drop. I don't think we really followed this stock yesterday, but nice chart. Nice chart. Not trading a whole lot of volume per minute. So, I don't know. See if there's anything that is trading a lot more volume than that, at least, or per minute. MGI, pretty spotty right now. Not a whole lot happening over the last 30, 45 minutes on this trade. I saw China markets do pretty nicely, at least in pre-market this morning. We'll look at Yin China ETF. Looks like pulling back now, though, and you could say the same with major indices within the U.S., the S&P, the Dow, etc. Have the SPY up here to show. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll keep going through the gainers list, at least looking at some other familiar names here otherwise, and then we'll jump over to the losers list. My scanners are like refreshing every 2 seconds. Pretty annoying. Blue Apron, still pretty tradable. A little thin on the order book, albeit 10,000 share order on the ask here at 8. Um, I don't know. Kind of a middle of the road stock to me there. Not a whole lot to write home about for right now. JD, pretty expensive but familiar name. All right, I think that just about does it on the gainer side for right now, folks. If there is anything that I completely missed, just type it in the chat board early. Let me know. BDSI well, at the high here, but not really moving too much. So pass on this for right now. Let's jump over to the losers list in the meantime. The JRJC trade. I don't know the news on this. I don't care to check, but big drop. I just wanted to look at this first with it being down over 36%, but the trend or lack thereof is concerning on that one. STRR, maybe a bit of a dead cat bounce here. I mean, it's really been trying to do that since the market even opened up this morning. So, just considering how slow this is moving right now, not too particular. Peloton, just to check back in on this trade, folks. Nothing really has happened since I first covered it. Hopefully, it just continues to grind on down. One thing I will reference here, and for any of our longtime C2 students, doing something that I shouldn't be doing right now because my trend lines often jinx a stock's move. But I'm going to draw a trend line that I have on my main trading platform that you folks can't see here. This is a trend line I drew a moment ago before we started this meeting. For right now, certainly would like to see this begin to break down, but the more it moves sideways, I feel like eventually it will match back up this trend line and we'll kind of react from that point, see where it goes. All right, how about this really quickly, not to go off on a tangent, but want to give a quick shout out to one of our trial members, perhaps here at Bala. Ended up jumping in on the DATS trade at 377 right now. They're up about 10 cents. It's their first trade altogether. Well, congratulations, Bala. Make sure that you have your stop set. And I'm going to knock on wood, make sure this just continues to push up for you here. Hey, as a trial member, as perhaps, and not to say just for Bala, but for any one of our new members here joining us inside Cyber Group, don't trade too many shares. If you're an inexperienced new day trader, and it's certainly okay to say that about yourself, that's no insult. Last thing I want to have happen is for anyone to jump into a stock, a position, biting off a lot more than they can chew, and then they end up getting clobbered. So for right now, Bala, let's keep this train going on DATS. Nice push so far, and we'll see what happens perhaps at 4. But hey, for any other new members here, trial members, inexperienced traders, it's okay to admit that. If you've never day traded before, if you've never used level 3 before, if you're not really used to following the type of volatile stocks that we're calling out here, then just trade small. Trade small for right now. Just gain the practice, gain the reaction times, and then, down the line, when you begin to feel even more confident within your skill set, that's when you trade more shares. Just ask some of our students here, like Andrea and Chuck and Alex, right? And Mark too. Right. All right. So for right now, let's keep going, though. Jumping back to the losers list here. And I'll tell you what, there is a stock I want to look at quickly. What the hell happened to Task here today? I mean, really, this stock out of nowhere when the market opened up this morning just got drilled, absolutely crushed, showing no activity in pre-market. Well, showing activity in pre-market, I reckon, but no real downtrend at the time, no major selling at the time. What's the news on this? I haven't even checked. And I'll tell you what, I care to check this. Interesting to see such a big drop squeeze back up. It's not really doing a whole lot right now, but just really quick, looks like there is a tweet, which never is too reliable, but it says Spruce Point Capital tweets, very pleased to issue a unique new forensic short report on Task, a hot 2021 IPO about to fizzle in 2022. Well, obviously started off, dropping off pretty quickly here today, and maybe one to keep an eye on over time. But right now, at least, not a whole lot happening. So, just wanted to go over the news at least that led to the drop, but yeah, not much happening right now. All right, so we keep it going. And what is still dropping is our short from yesterday afternoon, CRDF. Wow, this stock ended up making for a nice short heading into the close yesterday. We had this on our afternoon watch list, ended up breaking down below support levels off of 460 at first. That was the major level initially to enter from. Then from there, kept breaking down, dropped down to 450, then pretty much closed from there. So heading into the morning today, we weren't as focused on this stock this morning. I'll be the first to say that, but ended up dropping off, as you could see, and still at the lows here. So pretty interesting. I'm going to put this back on our watch list for the afternoon. Is this at all-time lows? I feel like this is a deja vu from yesterday here. No, it's not at all-time lows yet. We're still, but get a little close. It was at 70 cents back in March of 2020. That's right. That was deja vu. We talked about that yesterday. All right. Well, how about this little good fortune here happening on DATS? DATS is already at 4. There we go, Bala. Nice catch. Let's keep this going here for right now, folks. We don't need to have a 20, 30 stock watch list when DATS is the one that's pushing here. All right, beautiful. All right, so folks, I'll tell you what, I'm going to just keep going down the losers list here, making good use of time. But if there is any other last stocks that you would want me to look at here, call out that I didn't, type it in the chat board. Let me know. XL at the lows of the day here. Just it's like watching the grass grow. So I'm not particular about the intraday volatility, but this could be at all-time lows. XL, CCXI. I feel like they did a reverse split. No, stock's dropping off right now, down over 7%. I just wish it had more volume on the book. I don't have a true need to put this on our watch list for right now. I would just rather focus on something a little bit more liquid. Hey, for all of us on social media, YouTube or Facebook Live, quick reference here. Yesterday afternoon, as soon as I finished up the afternoon meeting here, I ended up jumping back on the microphone and I told all of us live inside Cyber Group, well, on top of the list I posted, keep a good eye out for the airlines and cruise lines, right? As the markets were dropping off and they were going with it. Well, same could be said here today, right? So let's just lastly look at some side list stocks and see if there's anything else otherwise that we can catch to wrap things up for this afternoon. Just checking out the airlines like AAL, an EV stock like NEO, of course, an AMC out there, which is dropping off pretty nicely. A good little short here right now in AMC. So you know what? I don't know. I like this. I like this trend down. It's not up or down a whole lot, but the way the market's moving, I would want to at least have one or two options as a possible short to go simply with the market. And AMC certainly looks to be that right now. Let's look on CCL here. You could see CCL Cruise Line making a very similar move with the S&P right now, the SPY. Um, all right, I like the AMC for right now. I'll keep the airlines and cruise lines collectively on the side list, though, for right now. Check out like a Palantir maybe, a little slow. All right, Peloton keeps dropping, folks. So alongside the AMC trade, which is shortable and dropping off right now at the market, obviously we're focused on Peloton too. And that's right, the CRDF. Don't count that one out either. All right. So hey, for all of us on YouTube, Facebook Live, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, suggestions that you would like to send over my way, feel more than free to send over a quick email. I'm just going to post my email address right there on the stream, josh@c2trading.com. If you wanted to continue the audio commentary that we have live inside our live trading room, feel more than free to go right down to the link on the banner below the stream right there in green to get yourself started on a small trial. But for Michael, Grant, Alex, Chuck, Deborah, Andrea, BJ, Norman, Bala, congrats again on the DATS trade, Bala. For all of us here inside the Cyber Group room, I'll be back on the mic right at 3:30 Eastern, wrapping things up for us heading into the close. Talk to you soon.